The afternoon sun of Phoenix, Arizona was brilliant and hot, casting long shadows across the asphalt of Jefferson Street. On a gleaming silver Vespa scooter, a woman in her late 30s navigated the light traffic. She wore simple jeans, a plain white t-shirt, and a pair of aviator sunglasses. A navy blue garment bag was carefully secured behind her seat. Inside was a maid of honor dress for her sister's wedding, an event she was now officially running late for. This woman was Maria Rodriguez, but not the Maria her family knew. In her professional life, she was Deputy Chief Maria Rodriguez of the Phoenix Police Department, the second most powerful cop in the entire city. But today she was just Maria, a sister on a scooter, trying to beat the downtown traffic. She hummed a tune, feeling a rare sense of freedom. No uniform, no radio chatter, no crushing weight of responsibility. As she approached a quiet intersection, she slowed but didn't come to a full 3-second stop, executing a maneuver every local driver did 100 times a day. That's when she saw the flashing lights in her small rear-view mirror, a PPD patrol car. She sighed, a small puff of annoyance, and pulled over to the curb. 2 officers got out. The older one, with a thick mustache and a name tag that read Miller, sauntered up to her with an air of practiced authority. The younger one, Davis, hung back, looking bored. Well, what's the hurry, little lady?" Miller began, his voice dripping with condescension. He didn't ask for her license or registration. He just leaned against her scooter, invading her space. "You know you ran that stop sign back there, right? That's a pretty serious moving violation." Maria kept her cool. She knew the stop was technically valid, but the tone was all wrong. This wasn't about public safety. "I apologize, officer. I'm on my way to my sister's wedding, a bit preoccupied," she said, her voice calm and even. Miller chuckled, a low, unpleasant sound. He glanced at his partner, then back at her. "A wedding, huh? I bet that's expensive. You know, a ticket like this, plus court fees, it can really ruin a weekend. Not to mention we'd have to check if this little scooter is even properly registered. We could be here for a while." He let the threat hang in the air. "But maybe," he said, lowering his voice, "we can find a simpler, faster way to resolve this. A kind of on-the-spot donation to the policeman's ball, you could say. Helps us, helps you. You get to your wedding on time. And this paperwork," he patted a non-existent pad on his hip, "just disappears." Maria stared at Officer Miller, the desert heat suddenly feeling cold. This was it. The whispered rumor, the shadow she'd been chasing out of her department for a year. It wasn't just a rumor. It was standing right in front of her, chewing gum and asking for a bribe. A cold, hard resolve began to form in her gut. She could end this in 2 seconds. Flash her badge, watch the blood drain from his face, and have him in front of internal affairs by sunset. But then she'd only catch him. What about his partner? What about the culture at their precinct that made him feel so comfortable doing this in broad daylight? No, the test had just begun. "I don't think so," Maria said, her voice firm. "I'm not interested in making a donation. Please just write the ticket, officer." Miller's smirk vanished. His eyes narrowed. "Playing a tough, huh? You think you're smart?" He pushed himself off her scooter, his posture turning aggressive. "All right. You want to do this by the book? We'll do it by the book. My book." He turned to Davis. "Davis, run her name. And you know what? I don't like her attitude. Let's check the vehicle identification number on this thing. Looks suspicious. Might be stolen." Davis, who had been silent until now, chimed in nervously. "Sarge, she just ran a stop sign." "Are you questioning my judgment, Davis? Or do you want to be writing traffic reports for the rest of your career? Check the damn scooter." Maria remained silent as they began their charade. They took her keys, opened the seat compartment, and rummaged through her small toolkit. Then Miller pointed to the garment bag. "What's in there?" "A dress," Maria said flatly, "for the wedding." "We'll see about that," Miller sneered. He grabbed the bag, unzipped it carelessly, and pulled out the delicate navy blue silk, letting it drag on the dusty ground. Maria's heart clenched. It wasn't about the dress, it was about the blatant disrespect, the abuse of power for the sake of intimidation. She bit her tongue, her jaw tight with fury. "Okay, that's it," Miller announced, a cruel triumph in his eyes. You're being uncooperative, and you're driving a potentially stolen vehicle. You're coming with us." He pulled out a pair of handcuffs. "You wanted the book? You're getting the whole library." As the cold metal clicked around her wrists, Maria looked past him, her eyes focused on the distant city skyline. She was going to miss the wedding, but she was about to attend a much more important event, the gutting of a rotten precinct. The ride to the 12th precinct was a study in unprofessionalism. Miller and Davis joked in the front seat, intentionally leaving the plastic divider open so Maria could hear them mock her. They called her Princess Vespa and laughed about how she was going to miss her big fancy wedding. Maria said nothing. She was a sponge, absorbing every detail, their call signs, their cavalier attitude, the way they dismissed a call about a domestic disturbance to finish bringing her in. This was evidence. This was the disease she needed to cure. They pulled her out of the car at the precinct and led her inside. The place smelled of stale coffee and disinfectant. The desk sergeant, a heavy-set man named Reynolds, looked up from his newspaper with an expression of pure apathy. "What'd you drag in now, Miller?" he grunted. "This one thought she was above the law," Miller announced proudly. "Ran a stop sign, gave us a ton of lip. Scooter's probably hot. We're holding her for obstruction." Sergeant Reynolds didn't even look at Maria. He just nodded. "Fine. Process her and put her in holding cell B. The paperwork can wait." There was no question, no verification, just instant acceptance of Miller's story. The system was complicit. They took her purse, her phone, and her sunglasses. As they logged her belongings, Davis fumbled with the garment bag. "What do we do with this, Sarge?" Reynolds waved a dismissive hand. "Toss it in the property closet. If she's lucky, the rats won't use it as a bed." They led her down a grimy hallway and pushed her into a small concrete holding cell. The steel doors slammed shut with a deafening clang, the lock echoing in the silence. The cell was cold. It had a single metal bench and the toilet in the corner. Through the small barred window in the door, she could see the officers laughing at the front desk. She was now just a number, a nameless face in a cage stripped of her dignity. She thought of her sister probably walking down the aisle right now, wondering where she was. A pang of sadness hit her, but it was quickly replaced by a cold, sharp anger. This was what ordinary people faced. This was the fear and helplessness her officers were inflicting on the very citizens they swore an oath to protect. She sat on the cold bench, not as a victim, but as a judge. The trial was well underway, and the defendants didn't even know they were on the stand.
An hour crawled by, then 2. The sounds of the precinct ebbed and flowed outside her cell. Maria could hear snippets of conversation, more laughter, the ringing of phones that went unanswered for long stretches. No one checked on her. No one offered her water or a phone call. They had forgotten about her, just another piece of human refuse to be dealt with later. She was deep inside the machine now, and it was uglier than she had ever imagined. She had seen enough. The test was over. The time for observation had passed. Now it was time for action. Just as she was planning her next move, the familiar faces of Miller and Davis appeared at the window of her cell door. A key turned in the lock, and the door creaked open. Miller leaned against the frame, a greasy smile on his face. "So," he said, his voice low and taunting, "had enough of the VIP treatment? Your sister's probably cutting the cake by now. It's a real shame." He stepped inside, his presence filling the tiny cell. "We've been talking. We're busy men, and we don't have time to file a mountain of paperwork for a stolen scooter and an uncooperative citizen, but you seem to have learned your lesson. I'm willing to be a nice guy. Maybe if you can come up with a processing fee, let's say $500, cash, we can make this all go away. We'll even give you a ride to your wedding reception. What do you say?" This was it, the final move in their disgusting game. They weren't just corrupt, they were cruel. They were trying to break her spirit before shaking her down for cash. Maria looked from Miller's smug face to Davis's nervous one. She slowly rose from the bench, her movements deliberate. "You're right, Officer Miller," she said, her voice quiet, but clear as a bell. "I have learned a lot today. I've learned that officers from the 12th Precinct conduct illegal stops, attempt to extort money from civilians, and illegally detain them without cause. I've learned that Sergeant Reynolds is complicit in this behavior. Miller's smile faltered. What the hell are you talking about? Maria's voice began to change. The quiet civilian was gone. In her place was a commander. I'm talking about violation of Penal Code Section 148A, resisting or obstructing a public officer, which you are fabricating. I'm talking about Penal Code Sections 67 and 68, bribery of an executive officer, which you just attempted for the second time. And I am talking about PPD General Order 3.45, conduct unbecoming an officer. Miller and Davis were frozen, their faces a mixture of confusion and dawning horror. How did this woman in jeans know penal codes and general orders? Who was she? You have one phone call, she said, her voice now like steel. I suggest you use it to call the president of your police union. But first, you're going to get me my property. All of it, especially my purse. Now. A terrified Davis scurried away and returned moments later with Maria's belongings, placing them on the bench as if they were a holy offering. Miller stood frozen in the doorway, his face pale. Sergeant Reynolds had come to see what the commotion was about and was watching from the hallway, his jaw slack. Maria calmly opened her purse and pulled out her wallet. She didn't take out cash. She took out a thin leather case and flipped it open. Inside, gleaming under the dim light of the hallway, was a gold badge. The badge of the Deputy Chief of Police. Officer Miller, Officer Davis, Sergeant Reynolds, my name is Deputy Chief Maria Rodriguez, and you are all in a world of trouble. The effect was instantaneous. It was like a bomb had gone off in the room. Davis looked like he was going to be sick. Reynolds stumbled back a step, his face turning ashen. Miller's tough guy act crumbled into pure, unadulterated terror. He started to stammer, Deputy Chief, ma'am, we didn't know it was a misunderstanding. There is no misunderstanding, she snapped, her eyes blazing with a righteous fire. You thought I was a nobody. You thought I was someone you could bully and rob. You treated me the way you must treat countless others who don't have a badge to show you. You disgraced this uniform. You disgraced the city. You preyed on the public you swore an oath to protect. She pulled out her personal cell phone. She didn't dial 911. She dialed the direct line of the Chief of Police and the head of Internal Affairs Division. Chief, it's Maria. I'm at the 12th Precinct. I need an IAD team here immediately. I've just personally witnessed multiple felonies committed by your officers. Yes, our officers. She listened for a moment. Thank you. I'll secure the scene. She hung up and looked at the three men, who were now trembling. As of this moment, you are all suspended, pending a full criminal and internal investigation which will result in your termination. Hand over your badges and your weapons, now. They complied silently, their hands shaking as they unclipped their symbols of authority, and placed them on the desk. Maria Rodriguez stood in the middle of the quiet precinct, no longer a victim in a holding cell, but the hammer of justice itself. She had missed her sister's ceremony, but she had performed a far more important one. She had started the process of cutting the cancer out of her own department, one corrupt cop at a time. The road to reform was long, but for the first time in a long time, the path ahead looked a little bit cleaner.